If you love cars, you have an emotional attachment to them. And there are certain cars which many of us have a certain affinity towards. And when they get discontinued, we have a sort of a heartbreak. And there have been multiple cars which have been discontinued for multiple reasons like low sales and also because of emission norms changing. And at times, car makers have decided that it doesn't make sense to spend that extra money in bringing these cars back or upgrading them to newer emission norms. Let's launch some other car or other model replacing it. So in today's video, I'm going to be telling you 6 cars which shouldn't have been discontinued. These 6 cars are really close to my heart. I love them, but they are gone, unfortunately. The first car on this list is a hatchback. Yes, but it's not a regular hatchback. It's a premium hatchback from a premium car brand which is a rear wheel drive. You got it right. I'm talking about the BMW 1 Series, which was launched in India in 2013 at a starting price of rupees 23 lakhs only. Now imagine a rear wheel drive hatchback would be so much fun, and the BMW 1 Series was exactly that. A huge lot of fun to drive, quite frugal too, and yet practical enough because it was quite big. But then BMW realized that there is no space for a premium hatchback in India because people wanted something which was bigger, like a sedan or an SUV, and that's the reason the 1 Series was discontinued. Next up is a car which would have given a tough competition to the Mahindra XUV 700. No, I'm not talking about the Tata Safari. It's already on sale and really can't compete with the XUV 700. In fact, the car I'm talking about is the Tata Hexa. It's a fantastic car. I really love driving it, and then obviously it's spacious, practical, has the feel, and those wipers which rotate in opposite ways, so cool, nah? But the problem is that Tata decided that let's not bring it back.
Excuse me, am I being fired?
Let me put it this way. Your place in the future of this firm is no longer secure.
Because it's body and frame, it'll drink more fuel, and then that 2.2 liter unit really has to be worked upon to meet the latest emission norms, and that's the reason Tata Motors actually silently discontinued it. Although they created hope by showing the Tata Hexa Safari Edition at the 2020 Auto Expo, and I even wrote about it saying that Tata Motors plans to discontinue the Hexa. They called me up and said, no, that's not the plan, the car is coming back. It never came. The Hexa is a fantastic car, fun to drive, practical and all that, but it's gone forever. At number 3 is a Ricer's favorite. I'm talking about the Honda Civic. The 8 and the 10th generation models were on sale in the Indian market, but unfortunately the 9th generation did not make it here, which is fine. When the 10th generation model was launched here, I was hoping that Honda would continue to sell it. Unfortunately, Honda pulled the plug very abruptly. The Civic is a very practical sedan, very fun to drive, and then frugal too in diesel, guys. They only needed to remove that automatic transmission from the petrol and put it in the diesel to make the diesel more practical and the petrol more fun. And even though the pricing was on the higher side, it was still much more attractive when compared to the Skoda Octavia and gave people an option to buy a sedan for SUV money. With Honda now unveiling the 11th generation Civic globally, hopes are high. But don't keep your hopes high because Honda is certainly not going to bring that model to India. I miss the Civic. It's a fantastic car. In fact, Honda means Civic. But unfortunately in India, Honda means city, and that's it. It means nothing else. Next up is a legacy of India. I am talking about a car which holds a record for being in series production for the longest period of time, the Hindustan Motors Ambassador. I know this car became very outdated and had to be discontinued because there were no buyers. But Hindustan Motors shouldn't have discontinued this car and updated it to make sure that its legacy stays. Even when you drive an old Ambassador today, you will still have a lot of fun because although it's not modern and it's not very safe either, it's rear-wheel drive and has a driving feel. The problem is that all the ministers got so much money that they decided enough of the Ambassador. Let's opt for the Fortuner. If you have more money, let's get a Land Cruiser instead. The Ambassador might make a comeback because PSA Group has taken the rights of the Ambassador. I think they paid around 80 crores for it. And if it does, I hope it maintains that shape. A retro, cool Indian car. Wouldn't that be awesome? Next up is a car which was sold for a real long time. In fact, new generation models of this particular car was launched abroad but never made it to India. I am talking about the enthusiast favorite, the Volkswagen Polo. Now, why am I sad that it got discontinued even though it was very outdated? Because it was the only way to own a German car for less money. In fact, for under 10 lakh rupees, you could own a German car. Wow! And while the Polo lacked equipment and it did not have any rear seat space either, it was still a very much fun to drive car which was very mod friendly as well. And then the handling and ride and build quality and safety were top notch. And even though it was more than 10 years old at the time it was discontinued, it still felt like it could carry on for a few more years. And on the top of this list is a car which is very close to my heart. I'm talking about a car which is an SUV, a real SUV in the real sense. And after this car was discontinued, or rather after this SUV was discontinued, there hasn't been a single SUV from this very car brand, even though they are calling their jacked up hatchbacks as SUVs. The car I'm talking about is none other than the Tata Safari Storm. Since the early days of the Safari, it has been competing with the Scorpio, and the Scorpio has managed to hold on to its sales in spite of the fact that the Safari is actually better than the Scorpio in most ways. But unfortunately, Tata Motors discontinued the Safari because they did not want to upgrade it to BS6 emission norms, and later they brought back the Safari nameplate with the Harrier Pro Max, the 7-seater Harrier. Now I'll tell you what is good about the Safari. It has a fantastic ride quality, it has the real SUV feel, it's very capable off the road, and it's quite practical. The cabin is huge. It did not have many features, it really did not need those features because it was all about the driving feel and off-road ability. But if Tata Motors had upgraded the interior with more features, today the Safari Storm would give tough competition to the Mahindra Scorpio N. That was a car which really meant reclaim your life. That's it guys, let me know in the comments which are the cars you wish were not discontinued, and honestly the car which I really hoped was never discontinued is this, the Mercedes-AMG SLS, or rather the Mercedes SLS AMG, because at that time Mercedes did not put AMG before SLS. What a fantastic car, absolutely stunning. But then because of low numbers of those cars on the road today, the resale value is through the roof. If you want one, well, you have to sell your house probably. On that disappointment, it's time to end. One day, someday, we shall own an SLS AMG Black Series. Bye-bye.